Games are great, aren't they? Great at making you feel all empowered, striding the battlefield with powers much more potent than anyone else in the universe, crushing enemies with just a glance and a clickety-click of your mouse. But then there are the games that make you feel the exact opposite of empowered. Games that do a brilliant job of making you feel small and squishy in a world of big, sharp things. Don't ask us to get into the psychology of it, but for some reason it's just as fun to put ourselves in these positions of virtual vulnerability as it is to load up Demigod in really big boots and shoulder pads 4. Love that game. So let's dive into the scariest recesses of indie gaming's collective psyche and find out what horrors they have in store for us. No biggie though, it's not like we're scared or anything. What? We're not. You are. Go away. Let's begin with the alpha and omega of whimpering at your desk, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. You can see its greasy, inhuman fingerprints on almost every first-person horror release even now, nearly a decade after it first arrived. In a real sense, Amnesia really changed the landscape. As the rapier-sharp intellects out there will already have deduced, you play a chap who's lost his memory, staggering around an old castle, reading journal entries and hiding from the bad thing. And sometimes just all out running from the bad thing. Although that all sounds very conventional and safe now, the particulars of Amnesia's atmosphere, that sense of your sanity ebbing away and the way every object in the room seems to mimic the silhouettes of your mutant pursuers after a while, well, that all still holds up. Hats off to you, old-timer. And now a one-man horror show with a distinctive aesthetic that's perhaps best described as someone shining a torch on your scary new Mega Drive game. It is, of course, Lone Survivor, the brainchild of indie developer Jasper Byrne. Like many of our picks on this list, it isn't an all-out jump scare jamboree, far from it. Since the world's almost constantly shrouded in darkness and your eponymous hero can only see a short distance in front of himself, there's more horror in what might be lurking just out of view than there is on what's actually on screen. What's making that sound in the background, you'll ask yourself? Where did that monster go? Can I really trust what I'm seeing, or has my sanity unravelled completely? You know, the usual mental checklist, only here it's set to a haunting soundtrack and wrapped up in artisan pixel art. Anatomy laughs at your puny expectations of what a horror game should be. Right from its name, which misleadingly conjures a grim surgeon simulator clone, Kitty Horror Show's game is about messing with your head at every opportunity. Like all good horrors, it starts slow. Yes, okay, you're alone in a dark house listening to tapes of a man talking about houses, and yes, that's weird. But look, we've played Amnesia, we can hack a few audio tapes. What we can't hack is when everything goes a bit, well, off. We don't want to spoil anything for you, but suffice to say, there's a real danger of becoming scared of the Unity engine itself by the end of the game. Ah, Slender. Even your grandparents have heard of Slender, haven't they? It's one of those games that bursts clear of the indie gaming scene and into mainstream gaming conversation, and then bursts free of that as well, until even Sonia from Accounts is talking about it and you're seeing posters everywhere for the movie adaptation. And that really says a lot about how much its eponymous figure creeps people out. Legend has it that the Slender Man began as a creepypasta, aka people on the internet trying to scare each other. Other more ridiculous legends have it that the creepypasta was in fact based on a true story. Whatever his origins, and just to be clear, it's definitely not based on a true story, look at him. Slender Man has become a part of modern folklore, and this game deserves a go on those grounds alone. Some scary games find their voice by grounding themselves deeply in reality. Five Nights at Freddys, a game where animatronic suits stalk the halls of a pizzeria at night, is not one of them. The gameplay is incredibly simple and really just boils down to cycling through some security cameras and opening or closing doors. Actually, maybe there is some realism here after all. Working the graveyard shift at a pizza place probably isn't a thrill-a-minute gig. But within that simple framework lies hundreds of potential jump scares. Hang on, where did that animatronic thingy go? Probably fine. Back to doing crossword puzzles. Horror isn't always found in dilapidated Victorian mansions. Although, to be honest, it's found there often enough that the bottom's really fallen out of the whole dilapidated Victorian mansion real estate market in recent years. No, sometimes it's found in familiar places, places that are usually safe. Tedious even. Places like an office. One late night takes just such an unassuming setting, you're an apparently narcoleptic office drone working late one night, and turns it into a psychological roller coaster. where once the creepiest thing in the office was Sonia from Account's gluten-free lunch, or Nigel's search history, now you've got sentient kitchens, phantom balloons, and this worrying shape to fret about. Hope they pay overtime for this. Putting a very literal slant on the old adage of suffering for your art, Layers of Fear is the story of a 19th century painter just absolutely losing it, really. As his talents evade him and the house goes to rack and ruin before his eyes, you're treated to an all-out sensory assault. Sounds start to terrorise you. Funny things happen in your peripheral vision. Rooms change completely when you turn your back on them. There are more explicit moments of horror too, like this. Yeah, really quite unpleasant that. But it's Layers of Fear's dedication to taking the high road when it comes to scaring you that stands out. Look, we've all had that nightmare where a routine brain upload procedure goes awry and we find ourselves in an abandoned underwater research station. It's right up there with sitting your exams in your underwear, that one. So Soma is already probing at your subconscious by the first hour mark when that exact thing happens and you're left wandering the creaking corridors of the Pathos 2 facility. But what sets Soma apart from its brethren is its desire to get you thinking about things instead of just jumping around when the scary thing pops out. You're left to think about how remote you are down there on the ocean floor, left to think about the nature of identity and life itself. And yes, occasionally there is a scary thing popping out and making you jump around, but more often this is a slow burning atmosphere piece where the horror just stays inside your mind. See? Told you we weren't scared. We'll even say Slender Man 5 times in front of the mirror if you promise to subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up for this video. Let us know below about the moments that sent you running away from your monitor and emitting regrettable noises. Your secrets are safe with us. And obviously everyone else on the internet who might be reading them. We'll catch you next time.